We're working on really great fall recipes that are really quick to prepare. And so today we're going to look at a really quick green soup. I love the idea of green soup because the name implies that there's a lot of things that could make it green. And so I'm going to tell you how I make my green soup and then variations on that. I love this recipe because it's so simple. You can basically make it at the end of the week when you have virtually nothing left in your fridge and still whip together a really quick dinner for everyone. So let's look at some of the ingredients and why I've chosen them. So I use parsley to make my soup green, and I really like parsley for a couple of reasons. One, it's a really fantastic source of folic acid, and folic acid plays a lot of roles in the body, but it's really important for heart health and reducing inflammation in the cardiovascular system. And it's also really important for preparing the body for pregnancy. So anyone looking to become pregnant or who may already be pregnant, parsley is a really important key to make sure that you're getting plenty of that in the diet for the folic acid content. Parsley is also a really good source of vitamin K, and vitamin K plays an important role in building healthy, strong bones. And so, which is important for children as their bones are forming, but also important for anyone who may have osteopenia or osteoporosis. And so that's a really good source to keep your bones really healthy. And it also has good calcium and magnesium source, so together it really does help build healthy bones. I'm also using celery, and so I really like celery because it adds a really nice flavor, but celery is a really good source of fiber, and fiber is super important in the body in terms of regulating cholesterol levels and then regulating digestive function. And so it's really important to have adequate fiber throughout the day. Celery is also important for reducing blood pressure. And so there's kind of a saying that if you can eat 3 stalks of celery per day, it can reduce your blood pressure. So anyone who has any type of cardiovascular concerns related to that should increase celery in the diet. I use onions and garlic both, one because they have a lot of flavor enhancers into the soup and just give it a really nice flavor, but both onions and garlic have these sulfur compounds that you can smell when you're chopping them. That give a natural antibiotic and natural antiviral properties to these plants. And they were used to kind of help prevent foodborne illnesses from spreading. And so that's one of the reasons that they're in a lot of recipes. The other benefit, or another benefit to those sulfur compounds, is they're really great anti-inflammatories. And so garlic particularly has been some studies done on the cardiovascular system and how important it is in reducing cholesterol and blood pressure. And so garlic is super heart healthy, and so it's a really nice thing to be added to the diet as well. Garlic boosts the immune system, and so throughout the winter months when we're more prone to colds and flus, the more intake of garlic that you have, you can really help boost your immune system and prevent those colds and flus from getting you down. That's another reason why I chose the herb thyme. And so thyme is used a lot in the winter months for cooking for just that reason. It has natural antibacterial and antiviral properties to it, which help keep you well. But when you're sick, it also has benefits that help break up mucus and help you get well quicker. And so in terms of colds or any type of upper respiratory infection, adding thyme to soups or whatever you're cooking can really help speed your recovery. I use a potato for thickening the soup, and I like to use potatoes because it has a really light flavor, but also a really good source of magnesium and potassium. And so potatoes are a really nice function there too. And then lastly, we use bay leaf, and bay leaf is just a really great flavor enhancer. So these are the parts of the soup, so let's get together and see how we can put it together. So what we're going to do is take our potato, peel it, and chop it into rough chunks. So we have our saucepan heated up, and so we're going to add some olive oil. Only need about a tablespoon. It's just enough to lightly saute the vegetables before we turn them into soup. Then the next step is to add in the onions and the garlic. And now we're going to add the celery. When we do pureed soups, it's not that important to have all the vegetables chopped exactly the same size, because in the end we're going to just blend it together. This recipe is really flexible. You can add other vegetables to this as well. I've done this by adding a carrot in, so you have celery, onions, and carrots together as the base, and I've also done this with zucchini, so it's really flexible in terms of like the vegetables that you have. You can kind of use it as whatever you need to finish up vegetables at the end of the week. The greens that you put into the pot as well are flexible. You know, you can use spinach, you can use kale, you can use mustard greens, parsley, or a combination of a couple of those to really get that green effect at the end. Okay, the vegetables are just starting to soften, so this is when we're going to go ahead and add the potatoes. So there's just one large potato, and then we can immediately add in the broth. I'm using chicken broth. You can use vegetable broth, you can use any broth you'd like, or just water is fine too. And now a little bit of salt and pepper. All right, we're gonna add our bay leaf in, and then thyme. If you have fresh thyme in the garden, that's great. This is dried thyme from my garden last year. We're gonna bring this up to a boil and then reduce down at a simmer for about 15 minutes, just until the potatoes are tender, and then we're gonna blend it to puree it up. So our soup has been simmering for about 15 minutes, and so we're gonna check to see if the potatoes are soft. You just kind of press one up the side of the pan, and if it breaks, you know that it's soft, and you're good. Yep. Okay, perfect. So we're gonna blend this soup, but first thing we wanna do is remove the bay leaf, and that is to be discarded. Okay. Now the last ingredient to make it green, we're gonna add parsley. This part only takes a couple of seconds, really. All we're doing is doing a quick blanch on the parsley. So just stir it into the water and let it sit for about 10 seconds. We do this because if you add the greens earlier in the cooking process, they will lose that really bright, vibrant green color. And so by adding it just right at the end, you'll still get a really beautiful colored soup and all the nutritional benefits. Now I'm going to use a stick blender to blend the soup and to puree it in the pot. If you do not have one of these blenders, you can just do it in batches in a regular blender. Just make sure that you're only filling the blender, 1 cup at a time, so that it doesn't splash up and burn you. Check the soup and make sure that all the potato and the celery has been blended. It's really nice and smooth. If your soup ends up too thick, you can always add a little bit more chicken broth or a little bit more water to thin it out to the consistency that you like. And now we're ready to serve up. So this is the recipe for green soup. Let your food be your medicine.